the calf kick. Like, the calf kick has kind of changed most of MMA because it's so devastating. It's like one of those techniques where you get a couple of those and all of a sudden your leg is screwed up. Like, you can't really move good anymore. Even if it looks like you can move good, you're really kind of hobbling on that one. Like, you're masking it with switching of stance.
Hello, pro strikers. Leg kicks are the low-hanging fruit. A low-risk, but often high-reward technique. Former kickboxer and renowned striking coach Duke Rufus once claimed kicking the leg required no skill, and this was said as his brother Rick Rufus was being carried out the ring by a stretcher after having been stopped with leg kicks by a Thai fighter.
Let's talk about these leg kicks. Right there, you know, he's just buckling his knees. It's the same type of injury that ends a football player's career. You know, I don't think it takes much talent to kick somebody in the legs. As you saw those jumping, spinning kicks that Rick was throwing and all the defensive ability, I think that's real talent, you know. I think that he is better than this fighter, but the rules just didn't allow him to win tonight.
Leg kicks have been part of combat sport for a long time, but their usage and techniques have evolved significantly. The commonly used low kick that we are all familiar with, pre-calf kick, was the kick to the upper thigh. Low kicks were often used as a supplementary technique to cause pain and disrupt balance rather than a primary weapon, although some fighters have built their name off of a good low kick. Kicks to the thigh can do enough damage to cause a stoppage on an occasion. With the rapid rise of mixed martial arts and social media, with combat sports garnering a wider audience, with more people watching, training and competing in martial arts than ever before, certain techniques have come into prominence over the last few years, with the calf kick now becoming a staple in fighter training. The leg kick has become a much more strategic and integral part of striking. The arsenal of leg kick techniques has expanded over the last few years, with fighters having developed different angles, speeds and variations to catch their opponents off guard. Leg kicks are used as part of a wider strategy to break an opponent's base, reduce their mobility and set up other strikes. Japanese kickboxing has showcased some unique leg kick variations that are worth noting. Fighters like Masaki Noiri and Yuki Yoza, two fighters that have been featured on the Pro Striking channel with dedicated breakdowns, are relentless with their leg attacks. So let's break down the many ways we can kick the leg. Inside leg kick. This is aimed at the inner part of the opponent's thigh. It's effective for disrupting their balance and limiting their movement. A good inside low kick can be a great way to set up power strikes, as it allows a fighter to fall forward into their backhand. A good inside low kick can not only be annoying, but painful to deal with. Outside leg kick. This is the most common way to attack the leg, targeting the outer thigh. This kick is useful for damaging the muscle and reducing the opponent's mobility. Fighters can cause significant damage by bringing the kick lower down the thigh and attacking just outside of the knee. Liam Harrison, a fighter known for his vicious low kicks, was stopped during his recent bout with Thai legend Nongo with a kick to the outside of the knee. Kicking to the back leg. Kicking to the rear leg of an opponent can be a wise strategy. The back leg is usually far less conditioned than the front leg due to it being further away and harder to get to. It gets hit a lot less in training, meaning it's just not as resilient to damage as a fighter's front leg. There are several methods to kick to the far leg. A fighter can step through and chop across the legs, using a similar technique to kicking at the front leg with the shin coming across the thigh, or a fighter can punch straight up like a stab kick using the ball of the foot into the inner thigh of the back leg. Heel kick to the thigh. This technique is exactly as described. The fighter lifts the knee, extends the lower leg out slightly, and then sharply brings it back to drive the heel into the thigh or hamstring of the opponent. This is an infrequently used technique, but an interesting one. I've only really seen it used in Japanese kickboxing, but I'm sure it will have been used across the striking sports. Let me know in the comments if you've seen it before and where. The quad stomp. Arguably the most controversial method to attack the leg. The quad stomp can not only be a fighting technique, but it can affect a fighter's career. Aimed at jarring the knee, causing hyperextension, the quad stomp can cause serious injury to the ligaments that stabilise the knee. This is why some fighters consider it a dirty technique, but it's perfectly legal and therefore needs to be looked at. The stomp is done by raising the knee, turning the foot to the side, and then driving the sole or heel of the foot towards the knee or the lower part of the quad. John Jones is probably the most famous user of the technique. Teep to the thigh. The push kick to the thigh is similar to the quad stomp, only less powerful and therefore unlikely to cause long-term damage. Instead of the fighter driving down with their whole body weight, it's like a traditional teep aimed at the quad and more toward the hip. It can cause a slight jarring at the hip and knee, which is just enough to stop a fighter's forward movement or stifle their attempt to attack. This technique is more for rhythm disruption than to cause actual damage, but it's a great tool in a fighter's wider strategy to set up better attacks and frustrate their opponent. Calf kick. The calf kick has become increasingly popular in recent years, particularly in mixed martial arts. Benson Henderson is considered the pioneer of the technique, using it as far back as 2012 as a key component in his strategy when he defended his UFC title against Nate Diaz. The calf kick targets the peroneal nerve, which runs along the outside of the calf. Striking this nerve can cause significant pain and numbness, making it difficult for the opponent to stand or move properly. There have been instances where the fighter's leg has completely shut off and they're not able to stand properly. A well-placed calf kick can severely impact an opponent's mobility. When executed correctly, it can lead to an opponent's leg being compromised, making it harder for them to move. The calf kick is a relatively low risk, but very high reward technique. It's a low line attack that doesn't expose the kicker to as much risk of counters as high kicks might. It's easier in mixed martial arts for an opponent to catch a kick to the thigh, but it's much riskier for them to reach all the way down and catch a kick to the lower leg. Alex Pereira can literally throw it with no telegraph, and the calf kick is an essential piece of his game. Low kicks pair well with other techniques. For example, landing a kick to the calf or quad can create openings for punches or high kicks. Low kicks are a versatile addition to any striker's toolkit, and it's a technique that everybody should be practicing. A kick to the leg doesn't require the same dexterity or flexibility as it does to land to the body or head. Anybody can become a good leg kicker. Let me know your favourite kick to the leg in the comments below. As always, thank you for watching the video. You can also support the channel over on Patreon and catch extra breakdowns over there. Pro Striking appreciates you more than watching Chinese heavyweight Liu Su calf kick his way to K1 glory.
Calf kicks.
Yes.
They didn't exist when even when I was fighting. I've never taken a calf kick. I have no idea what they feel like. They look like they hurt. They look, because people fall on the floor and they get red and swollen and they look nasty.
Yeah.
But there you go. I mean, that's the evolution of the sport.
Well, do you remember who the first person you ever saw throw one?
I don't.
For me, I'm pretty sure it was Benson Henderson.
Oh, of course. He was one of the early guys.
Yeah, he was one of the first guys I saw use it. But it didn't seem as effective.
And it didn't take off overnight.
No.
It wasn't.